Dear friends, greetings to all of you. Today we will embark on an amazing journey at the crossroads of science and Buddhism. This is a journey into the past, present, and future of human thought. We will explore which ideas in Buddhism anticipated scientific discoveries and ask ourselves, can Buddhism be the truth we are only beginning to understand through modern research? Buddhism is often perceived solely as a religion or philosophy, but in reality it is largely a system of observation, psychological practices, and descriptions of the nature of consciousness. Its founder, Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, never claimed the role of prophet or deity. He was more of a researcher of human experience. In this sense, his teaching can be considered one of the earliest attempts at a scientific approach to the most complex object, human consciousness. One of the main ideas of Buddhism is the principle of interdependence of all phenomena. Everything exists not on its own, but in connection with other things. Today, this idea is reflected in ecology, systems biology, quantum physics, and even cosmology. Modern scientists conclude that the world is not a collection of isolated objects, but a network of interconnected processes. When the Buddha said that everything is conditioned by everything else, he was describing reality in terms we now confirm through complexity theory and entropy. Buddhist meditation practices were not originally aimed at mysticism, but at studying the workings of the mind. The Buddha said that a person can gain freedom through careful observation of thoughts and emotions. Today, science confirms this. Modern neuropsychology studies mindfulness as a tool for reducing stress, combating depression, and developing concentration. Scientists record changes in the brain of those who practice meditation, increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, reduced cortisol levels, and even structural changes in gray matter. What Buddhists knew from experience is now confirmed by MRI machines. Buddhism claims that a permanent self does not exist. Personality is a flow of perceptions, thoughts, and bodily states. At first glance, this seems strange, but modern research shows that our sense of self is indeed created by the brain and is not a fixed entity. Neurobiology confirms that the perception of identity is fluid. With damage to certain brain areas, a person may lose a sense of self, while meditation practices allow one to consciously experience the dissolution of ego. The same applies to time. Buddhists said that the past and future exist only in the mind, while reality exists only in the present moment. Modern physics and philosophy of time also suggest that our ordinary perception of linear time may be an illusion, produced by the brain. Buddhism teaches us to see the world not as a collection of things, but as a stream of processes. In quantum physics, we also see not solid objects, but probabilities and wave functions. In biology, the organism is viewed as a dynamic system of energy and matter exchange. Thus, Buddhism turned out to be closer to the modern worldview than the mechanistic view of the 19th century, which considered everything solid, immovable, and mechanical. Interestingly, Buddhism has no idea of an absolute beginning of the universe. The cosmos is seen as an infinite web of cycles of birth and destruction. Modern cosmology has not yet provided final answers, but concepts of multiple universes and cyclical models of the cosmos echo Buddhist perspectives. Can Buddhism be the truth? We have already seen that many Buddhist ideas find confirmation in science, but the central question remains, can Buddhism claim to be the truth? It is important to note, Buddhism has never been built as a dogmatic system. Unlike traditional religions, where faith comes first, Buddhism says, do not believe words, test through experience. This almost fully coincides with the scientific method. From the perspective of science, truth is always relative. Today's theories may be refined or even overturned tomorrow. Buddhism also views the world as a process, not a fixed reality. In this similarity lies the reason why Buddhism can be regarded not merely as a philosophy, but as a parallel branch of humanity's search for truth. Still, each of these systems has its boundaries. Science is limited by its methods of verification. It deals with what can be measured, reproduced, and documented. But how can we measure the subjective feeling of happiness or the experience of ego dissolution? Science is making progress in this direction, yet not everything is easily quantifiable. Buddhism, in turn, relies on subjective experience. Its practices are tested through personal sensations and inner awareness. But such data are difficult to transmit to another person in the form of an experiment. This is precisely why a new synthesis is emerging today. Scientists are beginning to collaborate with Buddhist practitioners. They study brain activity during meditation, examine the effects of long retreats on psychology and physiology, and compare monks' subjective reports with objective instrument readings. One of the most fascinating intersections is the question of consciousness. Buddhism has always claimed consciousness is more than just a collection of thoughts. It is not fixed and can expand, change, and transform. The teaching of emptiness says, there is no unchanging essence. Everything is in constant flux. Modern science, despite tremendous progress, still cannot give a final answer to the question, what is consciousness? We know certain brain regions activate during perception or thought, but why does subjective awareness of self arise? This remains a mystery. This is where Buddhism and science can work together. Buddhism offers thousands of years of observations of inner states, while science provides methods for measurement and analysis. A particularly striking comparison arises with quantum mechanics. Buddhist thought asserts, the world does not exist as a solid, independent reality. Everything depends on the observer, on the mind that perceives. In quantum physics, we encounter a similar puzzle. A particle can exist in multiple states until an active measurement occurs. Of course, we should not confuse philosophy with physics. Buddhism does not describe elementary particles, and quantum mechanics does not explain meditation. Yet the parallel is remarkable. The human mind, through contemplation or through equations, arrives at similar insights. Reality is not as simple as it seems. Even setting metaphysics aside, Buddhism brings concrete benefits, meditation and health. Modern studies show that regular practice reduces stress, improves sleep, and enhances concentration. Emotional resilience. Buddhist techniques help cultivate calmness even in difficult circumstances. Neuroplasticity. Scientists have found that the brains of long-term meditation practitioners differ structurally from those who do not practice. Social effects. Practices of compassion and mindfulness, central in Buddhism, foster empathy, reduce aggression, and strengthen human connections. Thus, even without philosophical interpretation, Buddhism proves to be a valuable tool for both individuals and society. Another intriguing area of overlap is cosmology. Buddhism never acknowledged an absolute beginning of the universe. It spoke of endless cycles of worlds, of multiple lokas, levels of existence. Modern science has not reached a final conclusion, but there are hypotheses about the multiverse and cyclical models of the cosmos, where the Big Bang is not unique. These ideas strikingly resemble ancient Buddhist descriptions. Not one world, not one moment of creation, but an infinite variety of universes and cycles. Putting it all together, we can say, Buddhism is not a religion in the usual sense, but a method of inquiry. It does not oppose science, it complements it. Science looks outward. It studies atoms, galaxies, cells, and physical laws. Buddhism looks inward. It studies thoughts, emotions, perceptions, and the nature of consciousness. That is why their union can be so fruitful. Only together can they provide a fuller picture of reality. So, can Buddhism be the truth? Perhaps yes, if we understand truth not as a rigid dogma, but as a path. The truth of Buddhism lies in its invitation for each individual to test and explore for themselves. Buddhism has proven surprisingly in tune with science. Its ideas of interdependence, the illusory nature of the self, the fluidity of time, and the infinity of universes gradually find reflection in discoveries of physics, neurobiology, and cosmology. And perhaps the main lesson is this: truth is not static knowledge, but a process. Both Buddhism and science walk this path, though by different means. Dear friends, thank you for your attention. I hope this journey has helped you discover new points of contact between science and Buddhism. May it inspire you in your own quest for knowledge of both the outer world and the inner one.